Hi again. I thought today we'd do a stability ball core workout. It's a great workout to do on its own or in combo with a cardiovascular workout like a run, which I did today, or a bike, just to reset things and kind of build a little bit more foundational strength for your core musculature. So grab a ball, grab a towel or a yoga block, and a mat. Let's get started. So I want you to go ahead and grab that yoga block or the towel, recline on your back, take your feet flat on the floor, and place that block or the towel between your knees, just to give you a little tactile sensation in adduction of your knees, a nice grounding of your feet. Then I want you to give me just a slight posterior pelvic tilt where you're flattening the small of your back and you're creating a hollow space in the front of your abdominal wall. Then you're just going to release your arms down by your sides, open up through your chest, and elongate your neck with a light chin tuck and a little back of the head press. You're really open through that anterior shoulder, and I just want you to breathe into that bracing of the length of your low back by squeezing around the external core, and then feeling breath into that bracing or creating the diaphragm to contract downward and build a little intra-abdominal pressure. So you have that adduction between your knees, squeezing that block or the towel, or even if you have a little sponge ball, would be great. Just a few more seconds like this, again, breathing into that external brace, finding a lot of pressure in the lower belly. Then I want you to sustain that breath position or breath action. Bring your legs to tabletop, so 90 at the knee, 90 at the hip. Still adducting the knees or feeling that squeeze of the inner thigh and how it creates a little bit of that lower abdominal or lower pelvic girdle lift as you're breathing down into it. This time, instead of our hands down by our side, I want you to sweep them overhead. So you're noticing a little bit more thoracic extension without the base of the front ribs flaring up, creating again a little bit more length in your low back. So again, breathe into that external core brace. Find some length through the top of your head, so we're not finding more tension in the neck shoulder region with this overhead reach. And through that deep inhalation against the external pressure, I want you to notice your back getting more of the sensation onto the ground. Continue that external brace. Bring your feet back down to the floor. Separate your feet just a bit. Arms back down to the beginning position, open through your chest. Find a hip bridge. So now we're getting a little bit more of the posterior extensors, or your body's extensors. Really strong glutes without flaring those front ribs. Once again, find length through the low back. And again, the squeeze of the knees still sustained. So it would be great if we had everything in a bilateral stance like we've been practicing so far, kind of balanced on both sides of our body. But since we are kind of this unilateral or single side actor as humans, I really want you to feel that same brace, but lifting one foot off the floor and extending the knee. Notice if the hip dropped on the side that you lifted the leg. Find that same breath and brace into that lifted side. Still a lot of length through your neck, your shoulders, and a powerful hip extension of your still supporting gluteals. Gently release that foot down. Repeat it with the other side. Keep squeezing those knees towards one another. Hollow that side of the lifted leg. And again, lengthen through that low back. feet back down, lower back down, lose the towel or the block, and I want you to again find that same feeling of brace, but now fold up into a crunch. Extend your legs to a lowered point where you can sustain that lumbar position. Hands can support your head by actively pushing your head back into your hands, or extend the arms by the ears. So we talk about the hollow belly, hollow body. This is the really strong extended limb challenge to breathe with that bracing in this isometric position. So we're utilizing this breath work as a foundation from which to move. Just a few more seconds. Starting to shake a little bit. If your leg weight is starting to pull the low back off the floor, raise the legs a little higher. Let's go ahead and release that. Head drops back down. Give yourself a little bit of a rock from side to side. We're going to build some movement now into that same core brace. So grab your ball. We're going to start with a basic crunch in an extended range. So as you position yourself over the ball, the wider your feet, the more stable your balance. So with that same length through the low back and pulling up through the anterior abdominals, same head push back as if you were connecting with the floor. I want you to extend back without flaring excessively on those base ribs. And while squeezing your glutes, give me a slow fold forward. And repeat that. As you're lifting up, natural tendency is to breathe out and to increase the amount of compression from that external core. But really what I want you to notice is on the descent back, you're active to push versus just controlling the fall. Let's do 3 more just like this, going to 16. Still active with a head push, with the strong glutes, the external brace. Do that lift, but at an angle across, then change sides. So we still have that pushing back, head into the hands, but I also want you to feel like you're pushing into the ball. Notice when you're crossing over, if your knees start to knock in and out, and see if you can maintain their position regardless of your direction of rotation. So this is 10 each side. I want you to circle around to the left, come to the top, around to the right, and repeat that in a clockwise direction. So working a little rotational aspect here with a really strong, stable base around the pelvis, so your glutes are still strongly engaged. Head is still actively pushing into the hands. Let's do 2 more this direction for 12. At the bottom, reverse your direction, counterclockwise. Again, if you want to make this more challenging, narrow the foot position so your base of support is much more in line with the spine. We have 4 more this direction. Then I want you to go ahead and take yourself down to the floor. Bring the ball underneath your legs. And depending on the length of your legs and the size of the ball, you may want to grab slightly outward so you have a little bit more grasp, or over the top if your limbs are a little longer and you can get a nice hook. But I want you to focus less about how you're holding and more about how you're moving from the base of the pelvis towards your rib cage. Your arms can be back down by your side or overhead like we did in that beginning breath work. Whatever supports you the best, but I want you to start to bring the knees to the chest in a single count. So lifting and lowering. It's very easy to get caught up in just pulling from the legs. I want you to envision again that rounding of the spine, so that small of the back and pelvic position is actually going into an excessive posterior tilt without anything changing from the top region. We're not getting a lot of shoulder or neck position change. Four more makes 16. Then go ahead and take the ball between the lower legs. Extend the knees. So we're going to find a good position that when the legs are extended, you can still create that length in the low back. Arms come to a T, palms down or up, and I want you to feel really open across your chest. Then with the legs moving like a pendulum, rock to the left, to the center, and right center. Like we talked about in those beginning crunches, I want you to be active on your push down, not just the pull back to center. That's 10. Let's do one more for 15. And gently release it down. Now we're going to turn over, so we're coming on top of the ball with our forearms. And I want you to position yourself with the arms a little closer than shoulder, so that when you press, you can find a strong protraction in your shoulder blades as you walk to plank. Hips extend forward. And then again, I want you to find that hollow belly or hollow body feel like you did on your back. So with this one, you may even want to close your fists to create a little bit more stability. Narrow your stance makes it a little bit easier this time, but I want you to bring one knee forward to the ball and touch it. Push with that knee against the ball as you protract your shoulders and create that fist. Put that knee back, change sides. Put that knee back and hold. 3, 2, find a little child's pose. So that strong single side unilateral action creates more of that balance in the hip girdle like we did with the single leg bridge. Once again, find your protraction, your walk to a plank, hip extension, hollow belly. Bring the second knee first this time. Change sides. And press back. Really strong torso. Release it, find child's pose. So ideally we would do both of those back and forth. Maybe without a rest. Now I want you to come against the wall and we're going to create, that's why I have the camera angled this way, but I want you to create a balance point where you have your legs staggered with your top leg forward of your bottom leg. So we're going to find that ball's position, kind of on the pelvis but into the waist, and your feet wide enough or far enough apart that it gives you a good balance from front to back. Hands support the head, bottom elbow tucks. I want you to lower down, find a long stretch in your torso, and as you exhale, find the bracing and lift up. 2 counts, and lower down. As you're lifting up, see if you can keep your glutes strongly engaged. Let's do one more this direction. Then I want you to turn your top rib cage towards the wall with just a little bit more emphasis on that twist. This is 12. Let's do one more on this side. Go ahead and release that. Turn all the way over. Find again that top leg in front, the bottom leg back, the waist supported on the ball, and that bottom arm with the elbow slightly forward. Lower down so you feel a nice long stretch. Create length and lift up 2 counts. Four more just like this. And I really want you to notice the differences you might feel on one side versus the other. As you lift, turn your rib cage towards the wall. That's 10. Last 3 here. And then I want you to face the floor. Take the ball right into the pelvis or where it gives you the best balance. With both feet a little wider than shoulder apart. You're going to cross your arms to make the load the easiest. Hands behind the head to make it a little bit more challenging. Or extend the arms by the ears for a nice long load. I'm going to start low. Fall down. Find that length in your low back. And that same hip extension that we did on all of that hollow body raise. And as you lift, I want you to feel the front ribs knit in. So we're not getting a big arch in those back hypers, but more of a lift away from the floor. So the hips are really extending without the rib cage base flaring. This is 8. Let's go 8 more. So a lot lot of posterior actors, glutes, hamstrings, back extensors, but I still want you to notice that front body feel. Last time, go ahead and release that. Now I want you to bring yourself off the ball, turn and face the wall, and I want you on your knees, but hook your toes so that you have a little bit more brace support from your lower half, and come far enough away from the wall that you can fully extend your elbows, but without having to reach forward too far. So it's that sweet spot where your hips are in extension, your rib cage base is knitted down. I want you to start to punch the wall. And as you punch the wall, keep everything braced in your torso, almost like you're taking a little bit of a gut punch. Hips are still driving you forward. Speed this up. So you feel a really strong protraction in your shoulder blades. And then take a break. Turn your one side facing the wall, and I want you to step forward. So you come to a half kneel with whatever leg forward that is closest to the wall. You're about the same distance. You might need to recheck that you were with that forward punch, but I want you to be able to rotate and punch into the wall. And as you rotate, fire up the rear legs, glutes, so you keep the hips more stable, and then speed up that tempo. So really strong in the stabilizers and powerful in that hit. And then let's change sides. So turn and face the opposite direction. Again, leg closest to the wall comes forward. Hip extension on that back side. Turn and punch the wall with that strong core brace. And then let's take it a little faster, double time. That's it. Go ahead and bring yourself onto the ball. Then I want you to let the ball support your pelvis, your spine, and your abdomen. Let yourself just roll over the ball. Knees are still on the floor, and I want you to feel as if your back is actually melting around the ball. So we're getting a little bit more of the thoracic release, how it connects into the lumbar. Then walk forward just enough to get those knees off the floor and a little bit more weight into the upper body. So the release comes a little bit lower into the lumbosacral region. The knees are feeling heavy and there's no push of the feet. Think of that same breath that we began with, but now there's much more expansion into the belly sensation than there was into the back. And then go ahead and walk back to the knees, roll the ball forward, sit back into child's pose like we did off that plank, and extend the ball away from you so that the chest and the sternum come towards the floor, and we feel a nice long release through the lats from all those punches. Keep one hand on the ball, thread the needle with the opposite hand, dropping the head, the ear, the shoulder as you look up towards the ceiling. You can even roll the ball away from the side you're twisting to. Come back to center, switch, thread the needle in the other direction. And come all the way back to center. That's it, you guys. Do this again for a second or maybe even 2 more times for a third set. Great, great core workout. See you next time.